Am I right side up now? No, I'm right side up. Okay. So this camera worked well for Zoom meetings. Let's see how it works for this. So that's that. Okay, so that's not too bad. Okay, let's move this camera and put it here. It's a little bit too close, but that's okay for now. So this is going to have to be something to consider in all of this. Hey, Aaron Vlog, thank you for coming by my test thing. Let me just let people make people mods so that they can talk to each other. And add you as moderator. So there's quite a bit of lag here, but that's okay. Okay, so now let's actually do some editing. So what we've done is we brought in a bunch of clips. We've got them in order, and this is Premiere Pro on the timeline. Okay, so that's pretty fast. I was impressed with that. The can I move this around? No. Now this was all recorded in 4K, and we want to edit it in HD, so we're going to create a sequence that's HD, and we're going to say keep my existing settings, and we're not going to deal with this clip for the time being, so we're going to not enable it. But here our first clip is cutting some garlic, and here our next clip is cutting an onion. And so we have a total of 16 minutes of footage, and we really want to end up with like an 8 or 9 minute clip. If you want to share your link, type show link, one word, to drop the link, and Nightbot will do that for you. I like sharing. Jody, thank you for coming onto this test live. I think that's what I called it. Test live of editing a cooking video. Okay, so it didn't say test, but it is a test. And there's a lot of lag. So if I, for instance, the lag isn't that bad, to be honest. I'm not totally disappointed with this. I'm going to do one thing. That microphone is looking up my nose too much, so we're going to raise it a little bit. We'll put it on this box from the microphone unboxing video. And now, of course, it's crooked, so we have to make some adjustments there. So I guess really, in the end, this is using this crappy webcam. It works. It's not the greatest, but it is what it is. So now let's plug this in here so we've got some connectivity over there. and let's edit. Yeah, Jody, I've used Premiere since uh, 1990, maybe early 1991, 92. When I got my first digital camera, and it was a high 8 camera at the time, and we had video capture boards and all kinds of stuff there. Now with modern cameras recording in MP4 or phones recording in MP4, um, the capturing is a lot easier than it was that many years ago. And yeah, Adobe charges you, not even sure what I'm paying for it, because it's part of a deal. I do photography for Adobe, and I got a few. They provide software for some of that. Premiere is good. I've used DaVinci Resolve, which is free, made by Blackmagic Design, or the Blackmagic Design bought it, and it has some more powerful features. It has a different workflow, and the keystrokes are totally different. And I have pardon me, some allergies here. I haven't learned how to use it. When Adobe went to a subscription model, I was upset and annoyed, and I was going to boycott them. And I was actually going to buy Black Magic Design camera, and I didn't do that. I bought a Canon 5D and a bunch of other Canon video cameras. So I'm using the free version of DaVinci. I used it for a while. I've used it for a few things. It does some interesting stuff on stabilizing in a way that's different than Premiere's. Um, Moving files back and forth is more effort than it's worth. And if you're in Premiere, then you adapt to its features and limitations. And I assume as well, if you're in DaVinci Resolve, you adapt to its. I believe they charge $400 for the studio version with the studio dongle. Um, but you can buy a Blackmagic Design camera. This is Canadian dollars, I think, for $1,400. So if you need a camera anyway, um, then you might buy the camera and get the software free. The camera, their small camera is a micro four thirds camera, and no lens, of course. But its biggest downfall, in my opinion, is it has no autofocus. And I do remember the days when everything was manual focus, and you had focus rings, and but then God invented autofocus, and I believe it is the next best thing to sliced bread. Sliced bread is still a better deal. So here, what I'm looking for. So this is my next recipe planning to go live. It's steak pasta. I'm not even sure what I'm going to call it yet, but it's sirloin steak in a garlic cream sauce. And in this case, I'm serving it over spaghetti. I'm not a huge fan of spaghetti because I can't twirl it properly, and it looks gross when you're trying to eat it. Um, but spaghetti is just what I happen to have at the time, and I've got to look at my script for this. But one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to take this guy, which is my outro, and move it over to the end and get it well out of the way. So again, I know how to do this in Premiere. I'd have to think about it for a minute if I was trying to do this in DaVinci Resolve. I've used other editing software. Um, this way, I'm happy with this. I've tried CapCut, the TikTok thing. It has some nice features, but it's on a phone, and my fingers are too thick to work properly on a phone. The Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to start this episode with the finished dish. So here's the finished dish, and we're putting it on a table, and we're going to remove the sound from this clip because we don't need that sound. Later on, we do want some of the sound of the sizzle. So on now, I've doesn't we're not going to hear the sound through here because if I leave the sound on, I get this weird echo, and we don't want that. But so we're going to start the movie with the finished product, and we're going to copy that, Control C. We're going to paste it, Control V, and move that back to the beginning. So we're going to start the video with a little bit of this on a plate. Now, this is recorded in 4K. The final program is going to be HD, so the image or the captured image is bigger than the screen. HD is more than adequate for YouTube, and unless you're watching a YouTube video on a 4K TV, but that's probably relatively rare for these things. Although I am finding, I was looking at my latest video on chow mein, and it was 40. It started out at 70% on the TV when I had only 20-30 views. Hey, Belinda's Country Living, welcome aboard. We're talking about editing my next cooking video, and I have never done this before in terms of a screen share, but it's a bit like a Zoom screen share. Again, after you've done hundreds of Zooms, you know where everything is, and this there's still a few places I'm looking for where to click on things. This is in Adobe Premiere Pro Creative Cloud, so it's the latest version. It's a subscription version. They charge you by the year or by the month, I guess, for the software. Okay, so we're going to cut this thing here, and right there. Again, we talked about DaVinci Resolve. I know where all my shortcut keys are for this thing, so we're going to cut that there, and that was us. We're going to take this leftover piece and delete it because we've got the clip saved somewhere else. And what we're trying to do is get okay, we want to have the hand coming down, putting it down the table. I bought a basil plant at our local garden center. And I'm amazed at how green it is. And it was $13, and they all normally sell spice herbs in the grocery store for $8. So this is the $8 version. Looks wonderfully green. Look how green that is. Smells nice. It's only, but still. U-Cut. I have never heard of U-Cut. I've heard of CapCut, and I guess the other one that I've used a bit because I've subscribed to Microsoft Office. They have a thing called Clipchamp, which is again, compared to Adobe, in my opinion, it's primitive. I used it because I wanted to. There's something that I wanted to do that worked best with that particular piece of software. So used it. Um, there's almost everything I want to do. I can do well with Adobe. The downside with Adobe is there are things they don't do. In Photoshop, we now have sky replacement. So you want the sky, you got a crappy looking gray sky. You want to have nice fluffy white clouds. Replace the sky. Not sure why they can't make that work in here, because I would have used that hundreds of times. Their stabilizing is good. Pardon me, allergies here. But DaVinci stabilizing, I think, is better. DaVinci stabilizing, last time I used it, was many mouse clicks. Adobe stabilizing is one mouse click and it's there. The what else can I say about? Let me just pin this message about show link so that it doesn't scroll off the screen. And yeah, so Premiere is good. So when I look at this, I'm looking at it on a color corrected monitor. It's a little bit bland. We're going to fix the colors later on. So here, this cutting board is white, and I had to do this photography. I'm using an Olympus Micro Four Thirds camera and 3 lights. So it should be made brighter. So we'll make it brighter. We'll make it brighter right now, right? So we're going to go here, and they've got this little thing to do here and basic correction, and we'll just make it a little bit brighter. We don't want to change the color temperature, but we want to change the exposure, and that's probably where we want it to be. They offer an ability to do a brightness program monitor. I have to actually Google how to do it again because I won't use it rarely. But so we've got that, the nice color. But one of that. So we're going to have this. We're going to start the video with this piece of thing. We're actually going to start it with me talking about the recipe. But then we're going to end up with a finished shot of the dish. We're going to get a few seconds of. So here we are stirring it. I don't like that so much. So here we can see. Oh yeah, I put mushrooms in this as well. Yeah. So it's mushrooms, steak and mushrooms. I think I'm actually going to call it Philly cheesesteak. I'm a little worried about copyrights on the name Philly cheesesteaks. Research that a little bit, because otherwise we'll just call it a Philadelphia cheesesteak, because Philadelphia as a city is not copyrightable. The words Philly cheesesteak is Philly cheesesteak is a chain of restaurants. And let's see. So here we have. Okay, that's getting boring looking. So let's go back here. Let's get a little bit of this, and we're going to move this up so that I can make a copy of it and not lose it. Bring it back to the beginning. And we don't need the sound at the beginning. There's a nice sizzling sound under that. That's to say we can't hear over the phone. So we want to have a few seconds. How many seconds is this? This says it is 15 seconds. Well, we don't want 15 seconds, so let's make this a bit shorter. We don't want to lose people's interest. Okay, you can throw it up, and there we are. How many seconds is that? That is 11 seconds. We can live with 11 seconds. And now let's try to do that. We'll make this fit the HD screen. It was recorded in 4K. And we want, where's the best looking part of that? I guess we'll have the meat here. when it's raw because it's a nice color. And we're going to use 10 cents of that. So that's our basic intro to this. And then now um, our next got to check something. See what's going on here. Yeah, that's live. That's good. I like that. Our next thing we're going to do is in sequence. When I made it, I chopped my vegetables first, but the vegetables are the boring part. So let's start with chopping the steak. So after we've got that, here's our steak, and there's some noodles. So let's move the steak to the beginning. And then in my voiceover, we'll say, okay, we're going to start. And this looks darker gray. So once they're all finished, we'll adjust the light to make them all equally bright. It piece by piece. Okay, let's make this smaller so that it fits on where's 50%, 53% of 4K is HD. That's not big enough. Let's make it bigger because we don't really want all that background. We do want to see the steak. Okay, let's go in here. Clunk. We're going to bring it in. And then the voiceover will say something that we're going to start with a 4-ounce piece of sirloin steak. Then we're going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. Every once in a while, I get comments, people laughing at my knife ability. But hey, what can I say? So we're going to cut that in half. And now we've got, of course, the stupid cutting board was moving. We're going to have that and put that aside. There we are. So what we're going to do is I want to make it sort of stay in the center of the screen. And we're going to put a keyframe there. We're going to put another keyframe there. Oh, hold on. Yeah, we want to bring it up a little bit more into the middle so that it looks better. Okay, so how many seconds is this? So this is 50 seconds of cutting steak. So 50 seconds of cutting steak, it gets very, very boring. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it run almost twice as fast, make it 160% of the speed. So now we're down to only, so 30 seconds is enough time to talk about the steak and talk about the cutting and talk about making pieces that are bite-sized. So we got that. Okay, what are we going to do next? I guess after that, let's do the mushrooms because garlic is relatively boring, right? So let's do some mushroom. Where the heck did my mushrooms go? There's my mushrooms. I'm cutting the mushrooms there. Okay, let's do mushrooms after this. So the sequence of recording it is sort of based on what's convenient. For instance, cutting steak on a cutting board, it leaves a bit of a bloody mess. So in real life, I did it at the end, but it's not noticeable that much in the video. So we'll leave it in here the way it is. Okay, so now we've got our steak. So let's do our mushrooms. We got a nice close-up of the mushrooms. Let's go that. And again, the color and brightness will change later. Okay, we're going to stop there. We've cut them all up. And we're going to put them in a bowl. There's our bowl of mushrooms. There we are. Wonderful mushrooms. Let's put that aside. Now here, let's make this a bit smaller. And again, get up there a little bit higher. So we got that. Now in real life, this mushroom cutting is pretty slow. So let's pick a number of 140% faster. Speed and duration 140%. So again, if I was doing this DaVinci Resolve, currently I'd have to look up how to do it. but it's several more mouse clicks. Hey, DJ, welcome aboard. I'm doing a test of editing cooking video in a YouTube Live. And it's a little bit like sharing a screen in a Zoom meeting. Not 100% happy with the camera that I'm using, but the sound I think is okay. I'm not really happy with the camera looking up my nose, but hey, what can I say? And I have to bail out at 9:40 my time, so it's 20 minutes. And it's not going to finish. It typically takes me a couple hours to do this and agonize over it. And normally I'm also writing my voiceover script as I'm going along here. So I'm saying something like, we're going to start off with 4 ounces of sirloin steak, blah, 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 blah. But now I can't, I don't have room on the screen to write my script as I'm going along without the script. Okay, so we've got the interesting thing done. We've got the mushrooms and the meat. Let's chop up some garlic. Now, the thing about the garlic is, again, because I can't do a good job of cutting stuff. How long is that? Okay. And somebody is going to say my garlic shouldn't let it get green like that, but that's too bad. It's good garlic. It tasted good. I had a garlic press, and then I bought another garlic press that has bigger holes, because what I had at first, the garlic press presses the garlic through a thing, and the little holes got very hard to clean. So the one I bought now has bigger holes. Let's see, where did I leave that garlic press? So here we add garlic. No, so we're going to leave in the sequence of the video is we're going to leave the garlic press, the garlic being trimmed here, put it by the side. Hello, get in there, you. That's perfect. It lines up. Next, we're going to cut up an onion. And as I was watching this, I have a better video of myself cutting up onions. Let's center this a little bit so we can see the good stuff. I was thinking I'd use another clip of onion cutting. But then it's cheating a little bit. So, okay, so we're going to cut that off there. This silly camera, just going to expand this so I can see better. This silly camera doesn't record the first half a second of audio. So we've got to make sure that we're not starting at the beginning. We want to pick up the sound effects. And even if there's no sound effect, then yeah, right, DJ. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't recorded on a boat, but if I'm on a boat, that garlic's got to last for quite a while. And I've also listened to people talk about, I don't mind the smell of garlic. So if you put it in a place where it gets a bit of light, it actually gets garlic leaves and turns into a garlic plant. The garlic that's left behind is a bit sad looking. The taste doesn't go away. Again, we're going to speed up this cutting of the onion by 140%. Save that. And let's see how fast this onion cutting is. Yeah, so I'm debating whether I should leave this peeling off the outer layer, but I'm trying to aim for eight minutes of final video. Like if this is a cooking show on TV, your show has to be 22 minutes long to fit in a half-hour slot. So some of it's a little bit filler. If I was on TikTok, maybe I would just throw the onion up in the air and it'll fall down as pieces. Okay, we're going to put the onion into its... Put it in a little dish to get it out of the way for now. How many seconds have we got there? 9, 8, 4. I like these little things to be less than 5 seconds. So that's 5 seconds long. Let's stick that there. So now I've got I'm putting my garlic, and going to put it in a dish. Nope, that's the wrong 5 seconds. Okay, we don't want this because there's no action, so it gets kind of boring. And we're going to make this bigger on the screen so that we basically are seeing something interesting. What about zooming in a little bit? Okay, we're going to put that in a dish. Okay, we don't want that. And we're going to come in here. And my hand got in the way. It's a bit annoying when that happens. But if you're both the actor and the cameraman, then sometimes things aren't perfect. But we're not looking for perfection. We're looking to tell a story. Okay, how many seconds is this? 3 seconds? That's perfect. Let's move that in there. Ripple delete. Okay, next. Who we got next? Let's see what the next thing is. Okay, now we're going to cook the spaghetti. It's a one-pan exercise because on a boat I don't have room for more than one pan, and I have to wash. If I have 2 pans, I have to wash 2 pans, and then water is scarce on a boat. Clean water for washing is scarce on a boat, so we've got to leave that there. So we're going to cook the spaghetti in the pan that we're going to do everything else in, and I couldn't make up my mind whether I wanted to break the spaghetti in pieces. So I broke some of it, and then I put in full pieces because full pieces are more interesting. In my life, I have never been able to properly twirl spaghetti, so I like my spaghetti shorter pieces. In fact, I'm not a fan of spaghetti or linguine or any of those long things. I like short things like rotini or bow ties or a few like that. So now we're going to cut that in there. I don't know how many seconds we're in the cooking of the noodles. Is that out of focus? It's not bad. Okay, we're going to cook these noodles. Okay, we put the lid on there. So now we're going to start a new one. Again, as I said, we have to cut out the first half a second. Not even half a second, 6 frames. Because the camera doesn't record a sound, and I don't want to spend time fiddling with filling that sound. So we'll stir it for a few seconds here. I like that. Put that over. We'll have another stir. Cook it a bit more. Okay, so here we're picking some up to test it. Is it done enough? Okay, open that up. Yeah, that's nice. Let's take out the first 6 frames. Okay, now we're going to open that. Oh, that's nice. I always worry about the steam getting into the camera. And I do clean the lens from time to time because it does, it's probably not good for the camera. Okay, so I'm testing the pasta. I close it again. So now we're up 3 minutes of video time altogether. We're probably spending too much time on cooking pasta here. So let's get a few seconds of scooping it up. Okay, again, we'll take off the first 6 frames. So 6 frames at 30 frames a second is a fifth of a second. So the camera's not that bad. But it's annoying. If you don't take that out, then as you're listening to it, you hear dead spaces in between other sounds, and they're annoying. Now, the music and the voiceover fill some of that gap, so it's not totally the world, but why not Okay, so that's enough scooping it out. Okay, so now we're going to use the same pan, and we're going to put some oil in it. Okay, again, it was shot in 4K, so I got a lot of room for cropping, which is why I like 4K, whether I'm shooting on a phone or shooting with a real camera. 4K it is. I talked about the Blackmagic Design camera. It does 6K, so you got more room to crop. The new Sony FX30, I think, does 8K. I mean, my Samsung phone does 8K, but it's pretty poor quality. I've actually tried that. On the phone, everything's 4K. The files are big, so you can't leave them on there forever. Okay, so you got some oil. We're going to put the onion in. That's nice. Mush it around. Okay, we don't want a lot of dead space, so we want basically action. There's action. Where's the end of the action? There's the end of the action. Let's get rid of that. Next, what do we got? Next, we're going to, okay, so here's our friend, the garlic press. Garlic press. Let's see. Can I make it smaller so we can see more of this? Okay, now I couldn't totally figure out how I wanted to present this garlic press. So you got to load the pieces in there of the cut up garlic. Let's put that there. And then we're going to fill that thing up. And we're going to squeeze, and the garlic comes out. I'm going to cut it off with a knife. And it makes a nice fine garlic. Much better than I can do with a knife. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to let that saute. Saute is such a nicer word than fry, but when I type it in my script, it wants an accent on the E, and I can't do an accent on the E, so I get spelling errors. Okay, so now we've fried this. We're going to stir it. And I think we've got way too much footage of stirring. Oh, no. Okay, so close that. Okay, now we're going to add some paprika, depending how you want to say it. Okay, so there's where paprika. No, we did not mean that. Okay, we're going to add some paprika. Let's get small enough so that we can see the jar of paprika. There we are. That's good. I'm not a great measurer of things. Okay, we add the mushrooms. Stop that there. Okay, we're at 5 minutes, so we've probably got some time to get rid of some of this stuff later on. But I was watching a chow mein video this afternoon, and it took her 17 minutes to make chow mein or record chow mein. It takes longer to actually make it. But pouring water in a pot is not exciting. But she showed the pouring of the water into the pot. So, and she got more views and subscribers than I have. So obviously that cook is doing something right. Okay, so we'll stir it some more. Okay, I don't like what I did here. So we've the interesting part there. Okay, so what we're going to do here is at this point, we're going to change the position a little bit, do a keyframe there, and do a keyframe there. So finish with the paprika. And go to the next one, and we're going to move it up so that this is more centered. So we see the interesting stuff. We're starting to get some color in the mushrooms from them being fried and from the paprika. Okay, so we've got another 5 minutes, and then I have to bail out. So now we've got they're fried. Oh, they're yeah. So this is repetitive, and I think we're going to end up dropping one of these clips. But I find it always better to have more footage than to have not enough footage. You can always decide not to use something. If you don't have a close-up of this stirring, then you can't show how great this looks. So we'll probably use that for something else. And on occasion, I've gone back afterwards and redone something. What am I doing here? Oh, I'm putting a bit more oil in. Oh, yes. Okay. So now here, let's make this fit the screen. Okay. So because it's a one pot exercise, I want to fry the steak in the same. Okay, so I zoomed out on the camera. That's not bad. Sometimes the focus goes weird. We're going to put the meat in with the mushrooms. And again, the action is finished, so we're going to cut at that point. Cut on the action. Let's see. It's a editing watchword. Cut on the action. That way, you've always got people's interests. If you've got too much dead air while this thing is just sitting in there looking at you, then people lose interest. And the thing about YouTube is when you lose interest, people click something else. Back when we had cooking shows on regular television, you had to stay and watch it, right? Because there wasn't much else you could do. Let's make this smaller. So we got a close-up. We got a long shot. Let's move this over, center it a little bit. That's nice. That's the advantage of shooting in 4K and editing in HD. Some people say you should upload 4K to YouTube and TikTok. Waste of time. People are watching it on a phone that's got an inch screen. Okay, so what do we got here? We're flipping the meat, and we're going to stir this some more. We're flipping the meat. Okay, so now we're adding some Worcester sauce. So let's make this smaller so we can see the Worcester sauce bottle. Okay. Okay, so first when I did it, I didn't, I wanted to show the label. And so let's see, how many seconds of label do we have here? Okay, we got some nice sizzling sound. We see the lean parents, perfect. And we're going to put that in, teaspoon and a half, really 2 tablespoons. And mix that around. It's starting to smell really good. It's something the voiceover will say. And it was starting to smell really good. The problem with cooking for video production, as opposed to cooking in real life, is things take long. So steak is best when you eat it as soon as it comes off of the heat. Whereas here you're around with making it lined up properly, and I'm taking still shots, and then I didn't like the angle of the camera, so we'll change that. Okay, we're going to put in a half a cup of beef stock. We'll show some bubbling there. That's good. And now we're going to do what? I think we're going to... Okay, so I played with the zoom on the camera a bit there, so let's cut that because that looks awful. Let's see, where do we see... Okay, so I've got to make that smaller so that we see that there's cream. I should have brought it lower, I guess, so then you see more of the cream label, but I think it's easy to see that it is cream. We're going to put the cream in. That's good. We've got half a cup. We're going to cut that off. And now we're going to add a bit of flour to the cream, and I put in a little bit too much flour. I think I put a whole teaspoon, and I think we're going to adapt the recipe to be half a tablespoon of flour. Okay, we pour that in. And here, let's make a keyframe for position. And we got some action there, so we want to see that action. So here we are, low, bringing it in. Okay, so we got the action happening. And so we've got that. Okay, I need to bail out. I thank you all for watching. Leave a comment after, once this thing is live, whether you think it's worth the effort. I'm going to save this, and I am going to kill the live. So let me just make a screenshot of the live here where we are, and we'll save that. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And now we're going to have me in full living color. Okay, I guess I should have shaved before this. What can you do? Let's make a screenshot of that because I want to see what the effect is of ending the screen share. Save that. And I'm going to say, end my stream. Again, whoever's left here, thank you for watching. This video should be live tomorrow, Friday, I guess, in the afternoon. I hope you come back and watch it then. Thank you for watching. I appreciate every minute of watch time. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. End stream. Your share will stop immediately and no longer be live. I'm happy with that.